So do you really need these? Well, let's find out. What's going on, guys? It's Jay Sean at Aputure Reviews, and I just wanted to quickly talk about a few things regarding the Pocket 4K, ND filters, and IR cut. So with typical Blackmagic cameras or most of these cinema cameras, you do need some sort of IR cut filter. I spoke on this on the previous cinema cameras, but a lot of people said in the beginning that the Pocket 4K really didn't need the IR cut. And then now I'm seeing a lot of videos where they're saying you do need an IR cut. So it's kind of confusing me, so I wanted to check it myself. In the short period of time that I did have the Pocket 4K, I didn't really notice the pollution. I really didn't notice that you really needed it with heavy ND. So I wanted to specifically test it and really look for it. And I did it on a couple different days. The first one I did it with my truck, and because it's black, I don't know if it's because it's glossy, but I really couldn't tell the difference between before and after. It was really hard to tell. It still looked black. It could be because it's glossy and it's reflective. It wasn't clean, but it's a reflective surface, so maybe it was just harder to see. So I did that test on 2 different days actually, and then I put heavy ND, and I just didn't really notice it. And for me, if you look at the greens, you also notice it in the greens too. In the greens, you'll notice that it can have a slight brownish tint to it as well, so you have to keep an eye on that in your footage. Now, if you look at some people's recent footage, or somewhat recent, of the Pocket 4K, they've already said that it seems like it doesn't need it as bad, but it may still need an IR cut. But if you look at some of the footage as of recent, I don't know if you noticed it, but it looks really bad. It looks like very heavy pollution, like the old cinema cameras that Blackmagic initially came out with. So it kind of threw me off a little bit. So I did another test, and I did it with different objects. I did it with like a case or canvas semi-gloss. I put a black shirt that's not, you know, it's matte, it's not reflective. And I actually do notice it, and it's kind of funny because it's so subtle that you really don't notice it until you A/B it. So I'm gonna swipe it left to right. Now first I'm gonna show you the clip individually by itself, so one at a time. The first test I did with the IR cut filter. The second test I did without the IR cut filter. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place them side by side, and then I'll go ahead and swipe them from left to right or right to left, and then you'll see the difference. And it's kind of weird because when you look at the version without the IR cut, initially you really can't see it. At least to me, I really couldn't notice the slight off tinge to the footage. I really couldn't notice it. And on the greens, you really can't notice it on this particular shot. And I'm using a inexpensive but effective solution. This is the best priced and functional version that I've personally used. Well, I've only used a few, to be honest with you, but this is ICE IR UV cut. I'll put the links in the description below. You can get it on Amazon. You can also, I even saw they had it at B&H, but I always go with 82 millimeters. It's not that obvious to me like some samples that you may have seen recently, where it's just completely brown with a black shirt, looks like a copper penny, and it just looks super obvious. So to me, in these examples, it didn't look that obvious. I did on super sunny days, the overcast, different scenarios, different places, and that's pretty much what I can say about that. I would definitely suggest picking up one, whether it be this one or the Hoya version or whatever one you can get your hands on, more expensive, inexpensive, whatever the case may be. I just wanted to share my thoughts with you and what I found with my unscientific test. But it is there, but it's not really that bad, at least on the test that I've done. So, and it's never really bothered me using it, period. All right, so now that we got that out the way, as far as do we need the IR cut or do we not need the IR cut, does it make a difference or not, basically, right? So let me show you what I use for this particular Hoya ND. Now this particular one is a slim threaded filter, but the good thing and the bad thing is that it is slim, so you can use it on wider angle lenses. The bad part is there's no filter thread on the outside of this filter. So let me show you how I go around that. So the first thing I have here is this adapter. Is made by LucrOit. I believe that's the pronunciation of it. I had to order it, I think from Italy or something like that. It came actually pretty quick. You can get it in 77 to 82 or 82 millimeter or other options. For me, most of my lenses are 77 millimeter or 82 millimeter filter threads. This particular one is the only one they had at the time, so I may have to go later on down the road and get an 82 millimeter. And what happens is it's 77 millimeters on the inside and 82 millimeters on the outside. And then what you want to do after that is pretty much just screw in your IR cut filter first, the 82 millimeter, and then you take the 82 millimeter Hoya and screw that on the top of that. So what you do is you simply just screw this on the end of your lens. And believe it or not, even though this doesn't take a lens cap on the top of the Hoya, you can actually put a 77 millimeter lens cap and it'll clamp right onto the top. So if you look at this, it's a great design in my personal opinion. It has removable flags and it has 2 drop-in filters for 4x4s or 4x6s, and you can use it for photography or video. I personally have 4x4 filters, which are mainly used more for video, but you could potentially use it for photography as well. Usually in photography, you want to drop it even lower, but you could switch them either or depending on your application, and hopefully it should work. If you look at it, it's plastic, but it is nice. It's a nice build. It's better than carrying a matte box in my personal opinion, but it's just like one of those leaf filter holders in a sense. It's the same concept. It just has removable flags, which I really like, and I'd rather carry this than a large matte box. And like I said, for photography or video, it works just the same for both scenarios. Now here I'm going to show you how to attach it, and this is how you put it on. Easy to remove. You can go ahead and put the IR cut filter. It's a very thin profile, and you can go ahead and easily put a 4x4 filter. So if you use the Hoya, which is about the double the thickness of this IR cut filter, you still can use one 4x4 filter, but if you use the IR cut plus the Hoya at the same time, a 4x4 will not fit. But it still is useful for a matte box and stuff like that. Now for my 4x4 filters, all I have is graduated 2-stop and 3-stop graduated ND filters. They're not solid ND filters anyways, so I use those graduated NDs for landscape type of stuff, or if you have something just bright on the top or the bottom of the frame that you need to dim down just a bit to equalize the exposure. And this is kind of off topic, but if you need something to hold maybe your battery pack, your Anton Bauer, or your Sony V-mount battery, you can easily get one of these OPTEKA brackets here, and it has removable rods, and I turn it backwards actually to hold the big battery, and it's a quick way, instead of me bringing some of my larger rigs, this is just a quick way for me to attach that without worrying about where am I going to hang the battery from any type of tripod, photography based tripod or a larger video style tripod. So either one of them works really good. So that's pretty much all I can say. So hopefully this was helpful. Make sure you hit like or subscribe and leave a comment below if you have any questions. Hit that notification icon and make sure you get updated on future videos, and hopefully this was helpful to somebody, and until next time.